Terry, Spookstalker.com. Good to see you back. Been a while since I've done anything, like since April. As you can probably guess, the security business exploded back after this virus and all this other stuff going on. The riots, the everything. So I've been pretty busy, but it's starting to wane just a little bit. And maybe I get a chance to actually talk to you again. You know, usually this time of year, I'm able to give you a long list of a lot of the stuff we're doing in October. But because of the virus and because of all the things going on, I just don't have much. I'll give you a little bit though. St. Louis Paranormal is working on getting us back into the Fox Theater this year. We had to miss last year. I'd done the 2 years before that. The tours going through the Fox Theater was a blast. I had one room of my own. I showed some video of some of the stuff going on. It was amazing. And I'm hoping to get back in there this year. So keep an eye on my site. Keep an eye on St. Louis Paranormals, which is seeaghost.com. I'll run it on the bottom here. And watch for it, because I know 2 years ago it sold out in a week when it came out that we was doing it, which was like in June or July or something. It was amazingly quick to sell out. So I need you to keep an eye on that if you want to do it, because I think this year it's going to sell out a lot faster, in that people are tired of being home. They're tired of sitting and doing nothing. They want to get out and do this. But again, Fox Theater and Ferals in Peril, they're the ones, the cat charity, the stray cat charity. I do 3 or 4 or 5 ghost tours of Herman every year for them. Not this year. Virus. Yeah. So, if you want to check them out, though, as of right now, we have nothing scheduled for them. But they're still taking care of the stray cats in Herman. And the Herman area. They're still doing good things. So if you get a chance, their website is feralsandperilhermanmo.org. They've got a Facebook page, Ferals in Peril Herman Mo. Check them out, and if you feel like dropping a little donation to them, they could use it, because they capture the cats. They don't kill anything. They capture them, they get them fixed, and then get them adopted. And it's expensive work, but I think it's good work. That's why I do so much for them every year until now. On October 22nd, we're going to have a virtual lecture with the Scenic Regional Library. And apparently I can't even use PowerPoint. I can't show videos. It's going to be me sitting there talking. Not much more dull than that. But keep an eye on the Scenic Regional or my website, Spookstalker.com. And we'll let you know more about it as time gets closer. Have some reminders. As of now, on October 23rd, we're still doing an investigation, a group investigation at the Showboat Theater in Herman. And we've done this 2 or 3 times now. It's been interesting. A lot of the folks who do it say the place is haunted, and I'm going to tell you it's haunted. So if you get the chance and you're bored of sitting at home wanting to try something, October 23rd, we're, as of now, doing the Showboat Theater unless they decide to cancel it. So again, Spookstalker.com, keep an eye, I'll let you know what's going on. On another note, for all my friends who are really into the paranormal, you know, I always try to fill you in on something else to do. I do know that St. Louis Paranormal is still doing their Lemp neighborhood tours. They've got a new one now. They have their office in the Lemp Brewery building, and as some of you locals may know, a big chunk of that fell recently. Their buildings are completely safe. This particular building was not cared for. Theirs are. And Mark Farley, who usually runs the tours, will take you in and show you the brewery building. A couple of times now I've investigated that building and have ended up chasing shadow people through the basement. That's always exciting to me, chasing shadow people. So you may want to check out seeaghost.com. He also does a show live, Facebook Live from his car about once a week, twice a week. Goes to areas. I did one with him, which I was taking him through the city of Washington right after Washington Shadows came up and showing him different things. I'm sorry, Supernatural Washington came out. And it was a lot of fun. So if you're looking for more paranormal stuff just to break the boredom of watching Netflix, because I don't know about you, I'm out of stuff to watch on Netflix. Check out seeaghost.com on Facebook, St. Louis Paranormal Research Society, and again, they do have ghost tours going right now, and they fill up pretty good. And I found something new I wanted to tell you all about. Well, I listen to podcasts. A lot of my security work is alone in a big complex or alone in a electrical substation, and I have nothing to do all night. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and for the supernatural fans, for the true crime fans, this is just weird fans, for the Missouri people, there is a podcast called Show Me Scares. They are on, I know they're on iTunes, Apple iTunes. If you have an iPhone, it's free. You can listen to it. They're also on Facebook under Show Me Scares. Everything is pretty much about Missouri or real close, but they do a very good job of, the research is amazing. They did do Enoch's Knob Bridge. They've done Bertha Gifford, and they've done some other stuff around, well, all over the state, of course, but the true crime is particularly interesting. So if you get a chance, tune in to Show Me Scares. The most recent one they did, very nice girls, a couple of nice young ladies from Springfield area are doing the show. They're sweethearts, but they really praised me overboard. So, yeah, they made me sound like the Missouri version of Zach Baggins, and that's not what I go for, as you people know. I try to keep things nice and calm and easy when we're ghost hunting. But they treated me very nicely. They spoke very kindly of me. And I just want to tell you, you need to listen to it. Check it out. Try out the true crime. Try out the ghost stuff. You know, it's usually half hour to an hour long, and it's a fun listen. So check out Show Me Scares. Well, with the business done, almost done, again, my books are available on Amazon Kindle. They have River Shadows, Ghost Walk, Too Ornery to Die, and Supernatural Washington. And as far as the paperbacks, they are all available at Pratt's Pharmacy. They are available at Buy the Book in Herman, if Buy the Book in Herman can survive this virus, because tourism in Herman is not what it should be. Mommy and Me Again in Washington still carries them, and the Neighborhood Reads in Washington's carrying them. The Nook, which is the e-book for Barnes & Noble, has Too Ornery to Die, Ghost Walk, and Supernatural Washington. So if you get a chance and you're looking for one of these books or want to check more into some of these stories I read here, check it out. It's kind of cool. As you all know, I took a tradition that I started with my audio podcast, which was called The Dungeon. And I started, well, first off, when I did each show, I wore a particular shirt of some sort. The shirt I'm wearing today is The Thing, The Mystery in the Desert. And if you haven't seen the video I shot for the fine, you need to check it out. It was fun. Now, do I believe in it? No, of course not. It's a silly tourist trap. But it was so much fun. They did an outstanding job of allowing you to suspend belief for a little while and just enjoy the mystery. And it's pretty cool. So if you get the chance, go back on mine. Go to YouTube, type in Dan Terry Ghost. You will find my thing. Go back to the thing. And it's right outside of Tombstone, Arizona. Maybe 15, 20 miles out of Tombstone. And like I said, it's like an old Route 66 style tourist trap. And I loved every minute of it. Okay, so the other thing besides my shirt of the day is I always had a drink. Now this time, oh yeah, this one is red rum, a blend of premium Caribbean rum, and then it has rum spelled with an H, R-H-U-M, I don't know. Natural tropical flavors, got red rum on the side, notice the frost, because I like it cold. Yeah. Check out the pirate on the cap. And since I'm drinking pirate drinks, we'll have Surrender the Moody pirate shot glass. So let's see. My little sister bought me this. Don't know much about it. Smells good. Kind of pours out like cough syrup, though. A little on the thick side, it seems. Wow. Wow. Red rum. That's just one of the best rums I've ever had, and I am a rum drinker. Drank rum in the service, quit for a while, drank tequila, till Ray McDowell and I had a rather rough night on my 39th birthday with a few bottles of tequila, and then I switched back to rum. And I've drank a lot of them. And that is absolutely amazingly smooth. This is dangerous. Let's see. I have to open before drinking. It actually says open before drinking. That's delicious. Premium Caribbean rum infused with natural mango, pineapple, coconut, and cherry. Mixed with fruit juice. Mixed with fruit juice, soda, foo-foo drinks. Not me. Or savor straight over ice. Open before drinking. Open before drinking. Can't believe I have to tell you that, but okay. Folks, that's a damn fine rum. Red rum with the pirate stuff on it. That's really, really good. Okay. Now let's get on with our stuff here. Okay, if you're ready, let's get started. Where does this damn bloody finger keep coming from? I swear this thing crawls on my desk every day. Okay, getting back. I was just going to read a small clip from my book, River Shadows, Ghosts and Legends of America's River Towns. And this little bit, a few years ago, the late Jacqui Carpenter, who was a sensitive, a psychic, she used to do readings in Herman. She was actually from another area. I guess I met her about 2010 when her and I worked together on a ghost conference in Herman at the Showboat Theater, where I got some of the neatest photos ever of ghosts. But I met her there. And a little later on, we worked together at the Enoch's Knob Bridge, a couple other places. And then she called me up one day and invited me to ghost hunt with her at a former brothel in Fort Smith, Arkansas. So I went down and it was an interesting night. Let me tell you a little bit about it. First off, as always, I tell you a little bit about the history, and then a little bit about the ghosts. Cue the music there, maestro. Fort Smith, Arkansas, and it starts out with a quote, "There is no Sunday west of St. Louis and no God west of Fort Smith." During the dangerous days of the Wild West, there was one name that was guaranteed to bring a shiver of fear into the souls of the lawless: Judge Isaac Parker, also known as Hanging Judge Parker. Presided over the western Arkansas and the Indian territories of the Oklahoma area. Sitting over a jail known as Hell on the Border, he dispensed justice with an iron hand, at one point hanging as many as 6 men at one time. And let me just take a quick side note on this one. There was a marshal, Deputy U.S. Marshal, who worked under Hanging Judge Parker. And many people believe, and I happen to be one of them, that this is the man they based the Lone Ranger on. And his name was Bass Reeves. I've read 2 or 3 books about him. Just an absolute incredible individual. He was a runaway slave before the war. He had been raised partially by Indians in the Badlands. He knew the Badlands, and he would go in alone and come out with 30, 40 bad hombres that he arrested alone. He'd just go in, tough guy. His clothes got shot up. I think at one point his gun belt was shot off of him, and yet he never got hit. This guy was so tough, he even went into the Badlands and pulled his own son in for a murder charge. Just Bass Reeves was an incredible, amazing story. If you're into the Old West or lawmen or outlaws, look up Bass Reeves. Okay, back to the story. On Christmas Day of 1814, a boat loaded with soldiers landed in preparation to build Fort Smith. The military establishment was not to protect the settlers, but to assist in controlling the current war between the Cherokee and Osage Indians. Eventually, the fort would be moved 60 miles upstream to be rebuilt in Fort Smith to assist in supplying the troops and Cherokees in their forced march from Georgia to the Oklahoma territories, most commonly known as the Trail of Tears. Probably one of the most disgusting things America has ever done. Fort Smith became the last civilized stop before the rough Indian lands of the Arkansas River. The fort was held by the Confederates for 2 years during the Civil War and retaken by federal troops in 1864. For a time, the local marshals and judges were extremely corrupt. President Grant took Isaac Parker from another appointment and sent him to take the bench of the federal court for the western Arkansas. In Judge Parker's own words, "I have ever had the single aim of justice in view. Do equal and exact justice is my motto. And I have often said to the grand jury, permit no innocent man to be punished, let no guilty man escape." In his 21 years of holding court, Judge Parker sentenced 160 people to hang. Of those, several were released on appeal or had their sentences commuted by the president. Several times, Parker himself wrote a letter to the president asking for leniency due to exigent circumstances. But the law was clear for his part. The penalty for murder or rape was death. Of 160 people sentenced to die, 77 came to their end standing in the shadow of the gallows. On September 3rd of 1875, 6 men were hanged for murder. These included Samuel Foley, who killed the local school teacher, Ed Campbell, who murdered a couple over an insult, and James Moore, who killed Officer William Spivey in the Indian Territories. In 1879, William Colorado Bill Elliott, wanted in 4 states for murder, was hanged for the same crime in Fort Smith. The local paper quipped, "He'll hardly be wanted after they get through with him here." In March 1896, Cherokee Bill was executed for the murder of a prison guard during an escape attempt. 3,000 people with picnic baskets and kids in tow came to see the hanging. His last words were, "This is about as good as any day for a man to die." They sure had personalities back then. Court was held in the old fort building in the jail where the enlisted men used to eat. Nicknamed Hell on the Border, was in the basement. Hard stone floors, low ceilings, and no moving air added to the discomfort of more than 100 men crammed inside. During the hot summers, guards attempted to help by throwing water on the floor to cool it down. However, the water turned to steam, making the jail into a huge sauna. The odor became so strong in the courtroom 2 floors up that Parker began a letter writing campaign to build a new jail, and which he eventually accomplished. But murder, revenge, and illness weren't the only ways to die in Fort Smith. On January 11th of 1848, a tornado touched down in the city, taking 51 lives. In 1958, Bobby Joe Burns murdered his own mother in a ritual killing and spent the rest of his life in a mental hospital. Another interesting note was that the Great Fire of 1910, sometimes known as Night of the Lingerie Parade, an oil tanker on the river exploded, burning down all but one of the brothels on the waterfront. Men in their underwear and soiled doves in all types of night clothes ran down the street. And all but one of the 7 houses of ill repute were destroyed. Miss Laura's Social Club, the oldest and most expensive home for the entertainment of rich men, was spared when the wind turned at the last minute. And today, Miss Laura's is used as the welcome center for Fort Smith. Ghost stories abound here. There's local legends that the gavel of Judge Parker can still be heard slamming home the decision to lengthen the man's neck. The moans of the sick and condemned have been reported in a small room where they were held. However, the building is now a federally run museum and the employees will not speak of it. I did manage to photograph an orb in one of the old cells while still standing in the museum. You know, orbs is an iffy thing. I believe orbs are ghosts more often than most people. This one I couldn't bet on. With tragedies such as the Trail of Tears, tornadoes, Civil War battles, and executions, it's a small wonder the area is haunted. In January of 2010, I participated in a ghost hunt at a private residence in Fort Smith. Located in a district known for its Victorian homes, it was constructed in 1903. The current owner, during renovations, located a receipt from the city court indicating a prostitute had paid her fine. Home was built by Dr. John Carruthers, who served with the South during the Civil War. In 1884, he moved his practice to Fort Smith and eventually built a home that was used both as his residence and his office. During renovations, a new owner experienced feelings of being watched. Don't we all? He heard sounds he could not explain, and several photos revealed orbs. Believing the building may be haunted, the new owner walked around with a digital recorder attempting to get EVPs, having recorded the voice of a child saying, "Jacob." He called this team into exist. Knowing my interest in the Old West, Joe Johnson, a paranormal investigator and another police officer, invited me along with Jacqui Carpenter, A psychic from Iowa. She is the founder of the WISP conference, which was, at that time, a yearly ghost conference held in different places. I'd worked with her on the Morse Mill project, which culminated in the production of a video about a haunting of a building in Morse Mill by serial killer Bertha Gifford. And I think I've talked about her before here. The normal temperature for Fort Smith in January is 50 degrees. On this weekend, for the first time in a decade, 5 inches of snow fell in a single day and the temperature dropped to single digits. The house had no heat. But a group of us went inside to look for the lost souls inhabiting the building. Jacqui and her team had been there the night before. The psychics had felt a presence on the stairway, an angry man keeping one or more women upstairs. Spirits of women, naturally. As if the women were not allowed down into the living room. The new owner had removed a wall that had been put up fairly recently, opening the stairway to the living room. The spirit was also angry about that. After a brief EVP session, we discovered a voice on the recorder that was not heard at the time, saying, "Oh no, what went wrong?" Jacqui had set up a paranormal puck. Created by the same man who invented the Ovilus, the puck uses video in conjunction with an Ovilus-type device printing the words on the screen rather than hearing them spoken through the speaker. Considering the history of the building, which had been a doctor's office and had once held prostitutes, and the recent EVP of a childlike voice, it was interesting to see the words coming up on the puck screen: bones, baby bones, God. The psychics said they got a very strong name when they entered, which was Annalise. When attempting to get EVPs, I was asked to use that name as well as Jacob. Arming myself with a K2 meter and a still camera, we went upstairs. There was very little activity. Sherry and I, along with Joe, went downstairs with the psychics. Sherry and the others went outside to warm up in the trucks. Joe, Jacqui, and I hooked up the Ovilus and turned it on. Now, usually, when the Ovilus is turned on, the first thing that always comes up are the words dictionary mode and then several words as the device takes the readings. Soon it'll settle down, then the spirits get their chance to manipulate it. However, for the first time, the sound of screaming issued forth through the speakers. Folks, this thing only has words in a dictionary. You can't get screaming from an Ovilus, but we did. After several long seconds of that, it began making a sound exactly like a hammer striking an anvil. This went on for a long time, until it finally stopped and the words dictionary mode were finally spoken. I looked to Jacqui and I asked her if this had happened before, and she assured me she had never heard this before. It began producing its normal words. I was attempting to make contact with the spirit I'd been told was a mean-spirited male who kept the women upstairs. When I brought up the women, the word Rose came in the cold electronic voice of an Ovilus. Thinking I might be speaking to a female, I said, "Is your name Rose?" The next word was Rosalind. The cold voice said Rose and Rosalind several times after that. Later, I asked if there were any women trapped upstairs, and the word Anna came through. I've been told they heard the word Annalise on a recording, and now the Ovilus is saying Anna. The word Anna came through. Could this be the same as Annalise, who the psychics had spoken? The Ovilus continued speaking, but the words were meaningless. After a time, it stopped. We had a group meeting. The psychics went upstairs. Sherry and I and Joe decided to check out the basement. This was fun. I recently got my first iPhone, and I downloaded a Ghost Radar app. First time I'd ever used the Ghost Radar app like this. It's supposed to measure disturbances in the flux or some such nonsense. It displayed a radar screen, different colored blips, words come through like the obelisk. I used it as a joke, not believing for a second it was valid. As we went down to the basement, I turned on Ghost Radar, set it up on a washing machine where I could watch it while holding the K2 meter. One thing to remember about the iPhone, if it's not being used, the screen will go dim and then shut itself off to conserve power. As I spoke to any spirit down there though, the radar screen showed a contact. I continued to speak, but had to reach over and touch the screen to brighten it up because it was starting to shut itself off. We continued attempting contact, and after a minute the phone shut itself off and I had to turn it back on and brought back the Ghost Radar. Suddenly the K2 meter flashed in response to a question. I asked for the video cameraman to focus on the meter. I then complimented the ghost and asked them to set the meter off again. The lights flashed across the meter again. Then Sherry noticed that every time the K2 went off, a blip popped up on the screen right in front of me, like something would pop up, make it go off and disappear. I asked for a name and the phone said Spider. I then asked if the spirit had died there. Nothing. I asked if the spirit had lived in the house. I got nothing. Then I asked if the spirit had wandered by and chose to remain in the old house. The meter went off. I glanced at the radar and it showed a blip. Neat stuff. This place was pretty cool. And I ain't got to the good part yet. The K2 went off in response to several more times. Most notably, I asked the spirit how it died and the word swimming came up. Again, we are very close to the Arkansas River. When I asked the ghost if it drowned, the meter went off and there was a verified blip on the screen. So as soon as I said, "Did you drown?" the meter flashed, the blip come up again as if it reached over to set the meter off and disappeared. After 5 minutes or so of contact, which is a long time in ghost hunting, the spirit didn't stop communicating. Well, it finally stopped communicating. We gathered up our gear, and that's when I noticed it had been 5 minutes and I hadn't had to restart the phone. Was something else keeping the phone going? I don't know, but that it never dimmed out, it never shut off, and it was supposed to do that like every 2 minutes at that time or something. We went upstairs, had another group meeting. The anvil sound was played back, as well as the adventures in the basement. We started the obelisk again, and we kept getting the name Joe out the obelisk. The current owner arrived, said he bought the house from a man named Joe who had lived in the house next door and had recently passed away. I went back upstairs and attempted to use the K2 meter. Only went off once. Sherry, Joe the investigator, and I, not Joe the ghost, although he might have been there, heck, I don't know. Sherry, Joe the investigator, and I began more work there when we heard the sound of stomping. We heard stomping downstairs. Thinking the rest of the team had re-entered the building, we continued on. Suddenly, the voice of Jacqui Carpenter, called out, asking where we were. I had never heard that sound of panic in her voice before. Sherry told her we're upstairs. She came running up the stairs, breathing heavy. She told us she had come back in alone and was walking towards the living room when she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, expecting to find one of her daughters, she instead found the room empty. She began walking again towards the stairway. This time, the footsteps were stomping and chasing her. Jacqui said she had never been pursued before, and she felt that this was the presence of an evil man. Now, I do want to kind of give you the idea. People can be evil. demons are evil, but humans can still be evil. We're not saying this was a demonic spirit. I'm saying it was a human spirit who was not a nice person. At that time, I decided to provoke the spirit because I hate bullies, both living and dead. I stopped halfway down the stairway, called the spirit a coward for picking on women, and I challenged it to try that with me. On another note, I did use some foul language at that point too. I continued the verbal assault when I felt the telltale sign of a spirit because the hair on the back of my neck started standing up. I mentioned it to the others who were standing at the top of the stairs and that it was behind me. I then felt the distinct touch of a cold hand on my right ear. I actually felt something touching my ear, but it was cold. Again, I told the observers what I was feeling, and soon the rest of the team came in and the challenge stage ended. But then Joe showed me the video footage. There was a bright orb on my right shoulder flashing. It appeared 2 or 3 times. That's when I mentioned it was by my right ear. I don't know if that was the spirit manifesting to touch me or something trying to protect me, but there was something there when I was challenging the male spirit. While taking random photos, I also got a weird mist coming down the banister of the steps. I tried to put my breath out and take pictures, could not duplicate it. It was a light white mist on the banister of the stairway. The spirit there was very active and stayed close. I later noticed the bright orb around the current owner in several photos. We left the spirit and the new owner to get acquainted. He has our promise to return if the spirit causes too much trouble, and I look forward to challenging it again. Never got to go back. That was one of the first times I ever stood up and challenged a spirit. I've done it multiple times since then. Generally, if a spirit's cool with me, I'm cool with him. I just want evidence that they exist. But that one, that one needed a firm hand. God, those days were awesome. That was a fun adventure, though. You know what? That one was so much fun, I'm going to have another shot to salute it. Another shot of red rum, which is amazing. If you go, looks like redrum.com. Might be worth checking into, because that is one smooth drink. I'll have to remember that one. Well, Jacqui Carpenter passed a couple, 3 years after that adventure. She was a good psychic, nice person. So we'll drink this one in her memory. Jacqui Carpenter. Well, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in again. Again, I was unable to do very much because I was working security so much, and when I wasn't doing that, I was off to North Carolina doing things. But I'll try and keep up with this a little better. If you get the chance, check out The Thing, because that was fun too. Again, thank you for being here, and stay spooked.